Alrighty, here we are, motivation and emotion. I am motivated and moted and everything. Alright, so listen to me. I'm going to say motivation and emotion and then start with emotion. Ha! Fooled you, didn't I? Okay. Emotions are responses. Well, let me just step back. This is social psych. Um, Without other people around, without having social connections, our emotions would be blunted at best. Well, I think I even told you the whole bowling one, right? People are their emotions are intended for social interactions with others. In fact, emotions are, and I think it's up in here somewhere else, but I wanted to make sure it's a prime idea. Um, they took monkeys one time and they brain scanned them. And while they were going, "Hoo, hoo, hoo, hoo," what part of the brain do you think was active? And it's like, was it linguistic centers because they're talking to each other? No. It's the amygdala and the other areas of the brain associated with emotion. And so what we find is that these monkeys, the communication with these monkeys was ultimately emotional communication. So, at its very core, emotions are a form of social communication. It allows us to um, it allows you to show another human being how you are feeling inside. Okay, so it's a pretty powerful thing. These emotions, they really do connect us. Some of the primary emotions would be like love, joy, surprise. Where is it? Anger, sadness, fear. Okay, and so these six primary emotions, love can be affection, lust, longing. Just different ways that these emotions can express themselves. And in fact, I'm jumping up a slide here because I didn't realize what I had. That it appears that these six, what are this here? Love, joy, surprise, anger, sadness, fear. And so all of a sudden, here we are. Happiness, surprise. I'm going top left, top right. Middle, sadness, fear, anger, and what is my face? Blah. Disgust. Okay. And so all of a sudden, we've got these six different emotions, and they fairly well connect to what was listed here: sadness, anger, surprise, joy. Yeah, well, not quite. But anyway, this is Paul Ekman's work. Paul Ekman went out and he found all over the world. He looked at people and, in fact, he took these pictures and he took them to Papua New Guinea. And in Papua New Guinea, they don't even have access to, cable or anything. So they don't watch movies or anything. They hang out in the forest. And they asked him to, what are these pictures showing? And the dude from Papua New Guinea was like, oh, I know what those are. Boom, 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 boom. And then they took the dude from Papua New Guinea and he said, okay, I want you to make these, right? He did, brought them back to America, and people were like, I know exactly what that is, okay? So there's this belief that these six emotions are universal, that they show up all over the world. Now, I'm not getting into the details here, and this is probably a true statement. It's not quite as true as Ekman likes to pretend it is. Okay? So, emotions are social. I like this. The main evolutionary function of an emotion is social communication. There I go. I just said it. In fact, I said both of those. Blah, blah, blah. But it's powerful. Emotions are social. Emotions are contagious. Yeah, this is really our emotions spread to others. I mean, you all know what I'm talking about there, okay? I saw a very cool one. I can't remember. It was like, if you're happy, then your connections on social media's mood improves, and their connections improve. Okay, so it's like you're improving the mood. One smile from you can make 100 other people improve their mood. So, right, not not giving you any pressure or anything, but get on out there and spread the positive emotions. But negative ones spread as well, unfortunately. Um, though there is some universality in emotional expression. And in fact, going back, one of the most powerful things I've ever seen is blind people. Um, if you give them a yummy candy bar, they smile. All right. Whoever, nobody ever said to this blind person, okay, now, when you receive something that you want, then you should produce this no, nobody teaches a blind person to make, and yet even blind people pretty much fall into these six categories for expressions. Wait, this one was discussed. Did I get it? All right, there it is. So we find though that some cultures have rules about displaying emotions, and I mean, the United States is an interesting example. In the United States, when I was growing up, my grandfather was from a generation where the man of the house needs to be dignified. You know, I never saw my grandpa smile. He just never smiled because that was what the culture expected of him. Now, here, what you've got is an interesting study they did where they took people and they showed them a movie of a really gross, bloody car crash with, like this. And they showed it to American people and they showed it to Japanese people. And they showed it to American and Japanese people either while they were sitting in a room by themselves or while they were in a room with other people. Okay, and it was like, okay, American people, when this movie was playing, whether they were alone or with other people, were like, ooh, ooh, gross, something like that. They had a lot of emotional expression. The Japanese people by themselves also displayed a whole lot of emotional expressions of disgust, okay? But when the Japanese people were watching it in a room with other Japanese people, nothing. They were just stone-faced, okay? Not expressing a single emotion. In other words, Japanese culture doesn't approve of or something these displays. Remember the Japanese proverb, the nail that sticks up will be pounded back down. And it's clear. I mean, you're in a room full of other Japanese people and you start displaying some huge amounts of emotion, you're going to get some social disapproval. And then the last thing I've got here on emotions is this idea that emotions are not just for socialization, but they have an adaptive value. In fact, this slide helps us to understand why motivation and emotion are always taught together. Okay? I took a course called Motivation and Emotion one time in my master's degree, and the prof never once even explained the simple thing. So why are these two seemingly unrelated topics, motivation and emotion, actually taught in the same course? Okay, here's why. Okay, turns out that let's say what happens is on the far left column, things happen in the environment. Okay, a threat. So we have a cognitive state, an appraisal of the situation. There's a threat there. I'm in danger. What does danger, this cognitive state of danger, leads to the emotion of fear? Fear is bad. I don't like fear. It's kind of it's a force inside of me. It motivates me, okay? I am motivated to get rid of this internal fear state. So what does this fear state do? It triggers an external behavior, escape. And this external behavior of escape, in fact, leads to the consequence of safety. So I'm like, hey, look at that. They are not just adaptive, but emotional states provide the motivation necessary to modify the behavior to solve the problem which created the emotional state in the first place. All right? Wow, that is so cool. So now you've got some insight that nobody even taught me. Okay? So moving on to the motivation a little bit, we'll start with Abraham Maslow because he is, of course, the grandfather of all this stuff. Many aspects of motivation are universal, okay? Especially, well, very briefly, in Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs as shown here, what happens is that we are motivated. Okay, in fact, I think I need to step back and talk about a larger story. According to Abraham Maslow, he is the father of humanistic psychology. He says, when human beings are born, they're born with a purpose, a reason, okay? They have, as a Christian church might call it a passion, or a calling, rather. And what happens is that in some kind of ways, when you're born, the universe wants you to fulfill your purpose or your calling or something like that. If he refers to this purpose or calling as self-actualization. In other words, you're motivated to self-actualize, which is to say you're motivated to find your purpose, to find your calling, to become who you're supposed to be. Okay? But in order to fulfill that motivation, we have to satisfy lower level needs first, okay? And so we'll go back to the bottom, and we've got ourselves physiological needs, okay? Needs for to satisfy hunger and thirst. If you're hungry or thirsty, are you really, you wake up in the morning and you're dying of hunger. Are you really concerned about your purpose in life? No. You are motivated to find food, okay? So if your food and water needs have been met, then you move up to your safety needs, okay? Am I in a safe, stable climate? Is my home safe? Things of this nature. And again, if you are going to bed every evening worried that you're going to be attacked while you're sleeping, I don't think you really give a you don't care about your purpose in life. It's just not an important thing to you, right? And that's understandable. And so according to Abraham Maslow, after that we have belongingness and love needs, social needs. Yeah, without social needs being met, everything else, esteem needs, okay? And so we see that in the middle there is clearly a huge need for social, okay? And so the whole thing is ultimately about self-actualization. So it's really pretty cool. I like it. I enjoy this one. It helps explain an awful lot. But Abraham Maslow is not the be-all and the end-all. Okay, drive reduction theory is similar to what we just talked about with those the emotions, and that